Yay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. Make sure you have like two block-like things and a blanket. And if you don't have a yoga mat, it's fine. You can just do it on a carpet or a floor. And if you want to put on the playlist, you can do that at any time. It should be about an hour. Class should be about an hour. Yeah, so here we go. Let me just pin my video so the recording is better. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to start in Virasana, which means your block's going to be in between your feet, your heels, and you're just going to sit on it in the middle of your butt. Great. Just trying to sit up tall. I'm just going to face you, so I'm not just facing the side, but you can face the front of your mat. And just bring your eyes to a close, just coming into the space, placing one hand on your low belly and then the other on your heart, whichever, it doesn't matter. Great. Just notice how you're breathing. Are you breathing fast or slow? Notice how you're sitting on the block. Do you feel one side of your butt pressing down more firmly on the other? You can rock yourself side to side and forward and back and just notice what feels like the middle to you. Finding these feelings without having to look at it. It's called proprioception. When you can sense where a part of your body is in space without having to look at it and see it there. Great. Just keep noticing your breath. No need to manipulate it. And on your next inhale, you can either place either hand on top of your knees, or you can hold for your heels. Your fingers can face any direction. And we're just going to take our cats and cows from here. So inhaling as you arch, lifting your chest up towards the sky, and exhaling as you round, tucking your chin in towards your chest. And you can take these at any speed, whatever feels nice. If your hands are on your knees, they can move up and down your thighs. That's totally fine. And just trying to move our spine around in a different way. Great. Or not a different way, but a different orientation. We usually take these when we're in a tabletop, but now we're taking them sitting up. And just take this for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then coming back to a neutral spine. Keep the block in between your feet for this, but now you're going to lift up your hands and place them out in front of you, coming into an all fours. We're going to leave the block there just to measure out what hips distance is like in between our feet. But find yourself in all fours, knees under hips, hands underneath your shoulders. You're long ways on your mat, so your hands shouldn't be on the floor like mine. I'm just doing this, so I'm facing you. And then you're going to flip your hands around 180 degrees. So your fingers are pointing towards your knees. Your wrists are parallel to the front of the mat. They're still underneath your shoulders. Elbows are pressing out to the right and left. And then you're going to take circles around your wrists from here. So really think about circling small around your wrist. So you're getting into all parts of the wrist. Don't need to press your butt too far back or anything like that. Just noticing what it's like to open up the wrist in this way. And then circle in the other direction, circling to the left. Noticing if your wrists are not parallel to the front of the mat or a parallel line to them in front of you. I'm actually using the wooden floor lines to notice if my wrists are parallel. So you can use anything around you to measure up with. Take one more to the left and then come back to your neutral spine. From here, you can sit back for a second and you're going to interlace your hands and then place that down, palm facing down underneath your shoulders. If this feels like I could sit here all day and do nothing, or like just hang out here and have a conversation with someone, then you're once again gonna flip your hands around so then your thumbs are facing your knees. This feels very unbearable for me, but I know my wrists won't fall off, so I'm gonna stay here. But if the other one felt a lot of sensation, then just stay the other way. And then once again, this time, try to take circles with your hips. I can feel all parts of my wrist kind of opening up and almost screaming at me to get out of this position. But it's really good for you to flip your wrists around in ways that they don't normally go. It's always good to try new things. Then you know if you like them or not, and then you can decide whether or not to do them again. So then take your circles to the left. Pressing down through all parts of the palm. Still having a slight bend in your elbows so to not lock out your elbows. Feeling the block in between the feet, the tops of the feet pressing down onto the ground. Noticing if a bit of heat is building, you're starting to feel a bit warmer in your face or in your wrists or in your shoulders. Take one more circle to the left. And then unflip it around in whatever way you did and strongly press your palms down into the ground the normal way. Letting any sensation ground down into the floor. One more breath here. And as you exhale, sit back onto your block. Cool. Finding your Virasana again. Your heels are pressing the block, your knees are together. Finding the middle of your butt, pressing down into the block. And you're gonna interlace your hands a weird way now, different than what you just did, and then place them behind your neck and hug your elbows in towards your face. And now we'll take our cats and cows this way, inhaling as you arch and exhaling as you round. And try to go at a different speed than you did the first time, just for fun, just because. Listening to your breath as you move, undulating through your spine. And if you go faster, you can think about striking a match with your butt on your block. And if you go slower, you can think more about like petting a dog from front to back. So whichever speed you're feeling today, different times around the world. It's later in the day for us in Europe, so we might want to take things a bit slower, but it's early in the morning in the US, and we might want to speed things up to wake ourselves up. Take one more. Meeting back in a neutral spine. Uninterlace your hands. Remove the block and find your blanket. Woohoo. So we're doing a lot of prop asana today, which means moving the props. You're gonna find your blanket and hopefully it looks kind of like a rectangle like this. Maybe it has 2 layers, maybe it has 3. And from there, you're gonna just place it down on the ground and then roll it up so you have like a roll of a blanket. And now I'm gonna come back to the normal way on the mat. Your knees are gonna be hip width distance and your feet are just pressing out like they just were, it's like you haven't moved. And then you're gonna bring this blanket roll just up into the crease of your knees. So as close as you can get it to your knees, and then you're just gonna sit back down on it and notice how that feels on your calves and your hamstrings. And just like try to chill. Breathe into the sensation. Notice what your spine is doing. Notice what your jaw is doing. Are you clenching your jaw? You can bring your eyes to a close. Hands can come face down or face up on your knees. And then you can rock from side to side or forward to back, giving yourself a bit of a calf and hamstring massage. If you're doing a lot of walking around the house with like bare feet or socks, your calves and your legs grip in a different way. So it's always good to massage them out. You can take like circles with your hips around this to the right and the left, similar to what we did in the cat and cow like things. You can really do whatever you want to make being in this position a bit more joyful. Great. 5 more seconds here. 3, 2, 1. Then we're almost done with the blanket torture section. So you're going to move the blanket, keeping it in its roll, and just move it back so it's like right on the Achilles. So like right above your ankle. And from there, then do the same thing. Just rock side to side. Notice if this hurts more or you feel more sensation, maybe not pain. We don't want to feel pain. We want to feel new things that are opening up our muscles and our joints and our bones and creating space there so we can have more mobility. And once again, just rock, take whatever motion you want. If you have tendinitis in your Achilles or you run a lot or jump a lot, this is really good for you to place more pressure on the Achilles and the lower calf to undo all of that. And your hands can really be anywhere. You can be holding the blanket, they can be on your knees. Take a few more rocks and rolls and swirly things around yourself. 3, 2, 1. And then you're gonna lift up your knees. Just sit back on your heels for a second. Find the blanket, unroll it, and then fold it in half. And then place it at the back of your mat. Find your blocks towards like the front-ish of your mat. And then once you're there, you're gonna come into your downward facing dog with the arches of the feet on the edge of the mat or edge of the blanket so that your heels are on the blanket, arches are on touching it, and toes are on the floor. And finding your measure, bring your body forward and through to a plank pose. If you moved anything to be in a normal plank pose, notice that, stay where you are, and then bend the knees, stick the butt up, downward facing dog. And then from here, you can pedal it out, bending into one knee more so than the other, lifting an arm, shaking something, shaking your head, yes and no. Pedaling it around like you're walking a dog for the first time. Great. Noticing the softness of the blanket on your feet. Your heels have something to really press into as you're making some movements in your dog. And start making the movements a little bit smaller so that no one can see them, but you can still feel them. And really find the circuitous energy moving from your hands up to your butt, down through your feet and your heels down into the ground. And imagine it circling back up to your hands. So your circle of energy in this down dog. You have a slight bend in your knees. Your feet are pressing on something. Your entire foot should be touching something. Your entire hand is touching something. Notice what that contact does. One more breath here, sticking the butt up a little bit higher. And then begin to walk your hands back towards your feet. Wonderful. Still have a slight bend in your knees. Your arches are still at the edge of the blanket. Just let your head hang. Let your body come into a forward fold for the first time today. Great. And then slowly, 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 you're gonna roll yourself up, imagining there's a weight pulling your arms down as you roll yourself up. Head is last to lift. And then once you get to the top, you can take any shrugs and rolls and wiggles and shakes that you want with your arms and your legs and your head. Inhale, lift your arms up overhead, hook your thumbs together, and TikTok, my favorite app, from side to side. I'm trying to go viral on TikTok, guys. It's not really working out, but if you have TikTok, follow me. Just kidding. Okay. Imagine that you're circling up and over a beach ball as you go from right to left, creating space on the right and left sides of your body. As you go from one side to the other, your chin can come into the crevice of the opposite armpit. So if you're going to the right, chin comes into the left armpit. Go to the left, chin comes into the right armpit. Still have that slight bend in your knees. Take one more to each side so you're even. Doing these side bends is like a good wake up stretch in the morning or even after you've been sitting all day at the office or your home. Coming back to center, reach up, up, up to the sky, still have a slight bend in your knees. Notice how reaching up allows you to go a little bit back. And then let your arms drop by your sides and then slowly, slowly, slowly roll back down. Head is first leading. You're rolling like you're rolling a turtle down back into its shell. Cool. Once you get to the bottom, interlace your hands behind the nape of your neck. So once again, find the hands behind the head, elbows in towards your face, and really just curl into a ball. Like you're a snail coming back into its shell. Take a few more rounds of breath here. Really strongly pressing the toes and the balls of the feet down and the heels down. You can try rocking a bit forward and back and notice what that feels like. Once again, proprioceptioning. Don't know if that's a verb, but have your head coming in, chin coming in towards your chest. So you don't really know what your feet are doing. You can just feel them touching the ground. Keep breathing. On your next exhale, let your arms drop down to the ground and then begin to bend your knees. So we're in a bit of an interesting squat. One of my yoga teachers did this in a class I did this week, and I thought it was interesting because I hadn't really done it before. But your feet are still facing straight forward. Your heels are on the blanket, so you should still be touching something with your entire foot. If you aren't, feel free to fold the blanket again so that your entire foot is still touching something. And then you're going to find a strong connection between your armpits and your knees. Knees are still tracking over toes. And then see if you can let your fingertips come down to the floor wherever they are. And if you can't find any of these fits or folds, know that it just takes time. Once you start doing something over and over, you'll notice more and more the connections between different parts of the body and the different folds. I was definitely not able to do this the first time I tried. So no worries. Gaze is out and down in front of you. Take one more breath here. And on your next exhale, begin to straighten your knees a bit and come back into your forward fold for one breath. Exhaling, remove the blanket from underneath your heels. Place it to like the middle of your mat on the side in whatever way, and then walk your hands back out into your downward facing dog again. Cool, pedal it out. Notice what your legs feel like. On your next inhale, lift your right leg up, down dog split. Exhale, bend your knee to your nose. Place your right foot next to your right thumb, coming into your low lunge. Place your back knee down, untuck the back toes. Once again, trying to find the connection between your armpit and your knee. Connection and folds and contact brings stability, and stability makes us feel safer because we know we have something to stand on. There's less uncertainty when we have more stability. Inhale, walk your hands a bit forward so they're at kind of a V, and then exhale, reach your arms forward, out and up, coming up into Anjaneyasana. Again, interlace your hands behind the nape of your neck, hug your elbows in towards your chest, a little bit of a back bend, look up at the corner where the wall meets the ceiling, and then tuck your elbows and chin in towards your chest and really feel the opening on the front of the left thigh. Notice what your right knee is doing. Make sure that it's still on top of your right ankle. Notice if you're wiggling or wobbling. I'm shaking a bit, but I'm strongly pressing through the whole bottom of my right foot and the whole top of my left foot, which is the only reason that I'm still upright in some way. Take one more breath here. Exhale, come back up. Reach your arms up towards the sky. Strong stretch. Place them down to frame your front foot. And then we're going to take a little bit of a flow. So inhale, lunge. Exhale, tuck the back toes. Flex the front foot. Runner stretch. Inhale, lunge again. Exhale, try to straighten your front leg. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, runner stretch. And you can bring your blocks underneath your hands for this if that feels nice. Just inhaling and exhaling through each pose, letting the dynamic movement begin to open up the backs of the legs. And take this for 5 more rounds, and then we'll meet all together in a low lunge. Inhaling, pressing strongly down into the front foot. Exhaling, noticing each toe flex up in the right foot. Inhaling, we'll lunge. Exhaling, noticing the sensation in the back of the leg as you straighten it. And then once you've done your 5, if you took your blocks, you can place them off to the side. Once again, frame your front foot with your hands. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, strongly press your palms down into the floor, and come back into your plank pose. So finding your measure, finding one long length with your spine from your head out through your heels. And we'll take a few up, up, down, downs, as HIIT or Pilates instructors would say. So you're gonna place your right forearm down, left forearm down, press your right hand down, press your left hand down. Other side, left forearm down, right forearm down, left hand, right hand. And just take this 3 more times to either side. I'll do it with you. Try to keep your butt down. Try to propriocept to keep your butt down. Everyone's new vocab word for the day is proprioception. If you're studying for the SATs, you're welcome. So once you've taken your 3, you're gonna end with your forearms down on the ground. So come down one more time. And then you're gonna place your knees down, and then you're gonna slide your chest through, placing your pelvis on the ground, untucking your toes, coming into Sphinx pose. Cool. And from here, once again, I hope you have your blocks nearby. Grab for your block and place it in between your thumbs. So it looks like this. Awesome. From there, you're in your Sphinx pose. You have a good measure of where your hands and your shoulders and your elbows should be. Then you're gonna tuck your toes again, lift your legs. Oh boy, you're back in your plank pose, and then walk in your feet, coming into this dolphin. Still have a bend in your knees. This is a different version of a downward facing dog. And we like having the block here because it helps us make sure that our shoulders and our elbows stay in the right line. You don't flare out. You can look down and out. You can close your eyes. You can walk your feet in a bit more. A few more cycles of breath. Really bend into your knees and stick the butt up. Imagine that your heels are pressing down on that blanket. And then place your knees down, bring your toes to untuck, and then come back into a child's pose. From your child's pose, you can rock your forehead right to left, rock your hips from right to left. Your knees can be touching, your toes can be touching, or your knees can be a little bit wider than your toes, whatever you prefer. Take a few more cycles of breath here, just after the planking. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, you're gonna press up into your hands, tuck your toes, lift your knees, move away to block if you haven't already, and come into your downward facing dog. Amazing. On your next inhale, lift your left leg up, down dog split. Exhale, bring your left foot to your left thumb. Low lunge. Place your back knee down, untuck the back toes. Find the connection between your left part of your chest, your left armpit, and your left thigh. Knees right on top of ankle. Inhaling, walk your hands forward. Exhaling, lift them forward, out, and up. Inhale, interlace your hands the weird way. Exhale, bring them behind your neck, elbows in towards your face. A little bit of a back bend up. Exhaling, let your elbows come in towards your chest, chin in towards chest. Press your hips forward. Inhaling and exhaling into the sensation. Knees right on top of your left ankle. Strongly pressing down to the top of the back foot and the bottom of the front foot. One more breath. See if you can round down a little bit deeper, holding yourself up. Try not to sink into your hips. Really press down, come up. And then exhale, let your arms go by your side, lift them up. Place your hands down to frame your front foot. Same flow as on the other side. Inhaling, lunge. Exhaling, runner's lunge or stretch. Inhale, low lunge. Exhale, tuck the toes. Try to straighten both legs. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, lift your left toes up. Inhale, lunge. Straighten both legs. And you exhale. Take these on your own time, as slow or as fast as you're breathing. You can always hold something for a little bit longer if you're really feeling it. Yoga classes are just suggestions to give you movements to do. You can always take variations on them, even in class. No yoga journey is different, so feel free to do whatever you want that feels good and comfortable in your body. We'll all meet back in our left lunge. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, press the palms strongly down, and step back into your plank pose. Find your strong length from your head out through your heels. Heels are imagining to press up to a wall behind them. And as you exhale for 5 counts, you're gonna bend your elbows in towards your chest and come lower your body down onto the mat. Cool. Once you get there, you're gonna roll over onto your back. Feet can come face down, planted down on the ground. Hands can come onto your belly. Take a breath here and notice what it feels like to have your back on the ground. Do you feel even connection through all parts of your spine and your low back and your pelvis and your neck and your head? There's one side a little bit more down on the ground than another. On your next inhale, bring your feet up into a tabletop. So we're gonna do a little bit of abs. Don't hate me, it'll help you later. So you're gonna try to point your feet or flex your feet, whichever you prefer, it doesn't really matter. You're gonna strongly press your arms towards your knees and your knees towards your arms. So you have a strong connection and you feel sort of like tension engaging your abs and your core. Cool. You can also lift your head up, but if this is very hard for you, you can leave your head down. And as you inhale, you're gonna lengthen your right arm and right leg out at the same time. Exhale, come back in. Inhale, left arm, left leg, come back in. Right side, left side. And take this once again at your own pace. Whatever feels good to you. If this feels good, there's no way that it feels good, sorry. You'll feel good after, but still feeling the tension of the bent leg and the straight arm as you straighten the other side. We'll take this for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let your head drop if it was up. Let your feet come back down to the ground, hands on your belly, and just breathe. Cool. And we'll take one more thing. So you're gonna find your hands. They can be just on top of each other. They don't have to be interlaced, but they can also be interlaced behind your neck. And you're gonna lift your feet up, glue your knees and your shins and your thighs together. Once again, feet can be flexed or pointed. I'm gonna have mine pointed. Lift your head, neck, and chest up off the ground. And then keeping the shape with your legs, you're just gonna drop this down to the ground and then let it come up. And you'll only need to do 10 of these, so you have an end in sight. Try to feel the entire back body pressing strongly down as you come up. Don't let your back arch. And then once you finish your 10, you can come into constructive rest, and I will give you a virtual medal. So I think I have 5 more left. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming into constructive rest. And feet as wide as the mat, knees knocking in on each other. Hands on the belly. Thanking the belly and core for all it does for us. You can rock your knees from side to side and the lower back from side to side. Cool. Then when you're ready, bring your knees once again, hugging in towards your chest. You can place your hands on top of your knees and then just take some rolls up and down, massaging your spine. And then once you have enough momentum to come sit up, you're gonna just turn over to the left side, find your all fours position, find your down dog, and pedal it all out. If you want, and I recommend this, as you inhale, come forward and through to your plank pose, and then drop your hips, let your chest come through, upward facing dog, bend the knees, stick the butt up. One more time, rolling forward and through with your spine to your up dog, giving your belly a bit of a stretch, bend the knees, stick the butt up, downward facing dog. Take 3 cycles of breath in your down dog. And then once you've done your 3, you're gonna walk your feet up to meet your hands, coming into a forward fold at the front of your mat. But there's no rush at all, so take your time. Once you've gotten to the front, you're gonna take 2 fists and measure them out in between your arches so you know your feet are at hips width distance. And you're just gonna hang over your legs. Once again, shake your head out from right to left. Shake it yes and no. You can bend your knees a little bit deeper. You can do something else, whatever feels nice. Close your eyes and propriocept every part of your bottom of your foot, pressing down onto the ground. All 10 toes, all parts of the heel, the outer edges of both feet, and your head is just there hanging like an ornament on a Christmas tree. Cool. Grab for one of your blocks. So you're gonna have your block in between your hands, and as you roll up, imagine that it is the weight that is pulling you down. So really let your body be pulled down by holding the block with your hands. Head is left to lift as you roll up through your spine and come up to stand. Cool. You can always try that with a real weight, but I don't have weights. So I will ask Santa for weights. Okay, so I'm gonna face the front again, but you can still face the front of your mat. You're gonna find your block in between your hands, and your hands can kind of be like Barbie hands. They don't need to be gripping this like I'm clawing it. They can just be pressing strongly into the side of the mat. And then we don't want our elbows out here. We want them like coming in almost to touch. Like if you can touch, great. If not, we just want them right underneath your hands in line with your shoulders. And what you're gonna do is just straighten your arms and then bend your arms back, letting the block come behind you. Straighten them again. My arms are shaking. And then bend them down in front of you. And you're gonna take that at least 5 times. trying to keep the measurements of your arms in this way with the block. So try not to let your elbows come too far out or anything. You can honestly do whatever you want with your legs as long as you're not straightening them too much. And they're holding you up. And once you've taken your 5, and there's no rush, you're just gonna use the blocks again, or the block, as a weight to roll yourself down. Cool. So I think I've done 5. I don't know how to count sometimes, and that's okay. So then I'm gonna let the block come down in front of me and then roll my head down, bend into my knees, and roll my spine down. Once the block hits the ground, we're gonna use it still. So I'm gonna grab it and then place it kind of on this diagonal type way. Place the top part of your foot on it, and then step your left foot back about like 20 centimeters, or I don't know how long that is. I don't even know how long that is in feet or inches. So about the length of your shin, step it back. And then you're gonna have your hands on your block. Try to have your hips in one line. So your right hip is shooting out at 3 o'clock, your left hip is out at 9 o'clock. And we're just gonna try to get into the back of the right calf, the back of the right leg. The chin can just come shake out and come in towards your chest. You can move around your left foot, either forward or back, left to right, till you find your sweet spot, whatever feels nice. And the front of your right foot can be pressing down on the block as if you're driving a car and pressing on the brake or the gas. Take a few more rounds of breath. Relax your jaw and your shoulders. Notice if they're coming up towards your ears. Try to roll them back down your spine. One more breath. Exhaling, let the block release. Place the sole of the right foot on the ground, and then we'll switch over to the other side. So placing the left ball of the foot on the block at an angle, stepping the right foot back. Hips are at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. You can do whatever you want with your hands. You could also place them down on the ground, whatever feels nice. You can place them in line with your shoulders or behind your shoulders. Whatever feels good to get into the back of the left leg. I'm wrapping forward and back a little bit. Good reminder to continue shaking your head out to reduce the amount of gripping. You can rock your hips from side to side. Listening to your breath. And one important thing here is to really try to have a down dog-like spine in this position. If you're rounding really a lot, then try to bring your arms up higher. You can use one of your other blocks or something to get that down dog-like spine in this position. It's safer for your back, it's safer for your legs. And you can imagine that you're sticking your butt out and getting a nice crescendo in the spine. One more breath on your next exhale. Let both blocks go. And then once again, find your blanket. It should be the same way as it was when it was at the back of your mat. And you're going to place that on the ground and place the balls of your feet on top of it. So now your arches are once again on the mat, heels are on the mat or the ground, and balls of the feet are on the blanket. And then if you stood up like I did, you can roll yourself back down, leading with your head. But if you still stayed forward folding, you can just continue there. Cool. Interlace your hands behind the base of your spine. Oh no, I'm falling. And then straighten your arms and let your hands fall overhead. So really good opening up for the shoulders, which we'll use in one of the next things we do. So you can rock from side to side, opening up the fronts of the shoulders and the pec area. You can bend a little bit more deeply into your knees and forward fold a little bit more. Bring your hands back to the base of your spine. Just flip which pointer finger is on top, so your hands will be interlaced a weird way. Straighten them again and let them hang over. Notice a different feeling in your shoulders. Cool. So undoes a little bit of the weird block stuff we did. One more cycle of breath. Let your hands come down to the base of your spine. Let your arms come down. You can remove the blanket, place your hands down on the mat, and step yourself back into your downward facing dog. Cool. Few more cycles of breath here. Take 3 deep inhales and exhales. You can exhale out the mouth if that feels nice and cathartic for you. With these deep sighs, let it all go. Place your knees down as wide as the mat. Bring your big toes to touch and sit back into a wide kneed child's pose. Letting your forehead come down to the mat, whatever touches the ground. Your arms are coming out straight in line with your shoulders like they were in the Sphinx pose or when we were standing up doing the block. And hips come back to press down on your heels. Take 3 deep inhales and exhales here. And on your third exhale, you're going to roll yourself up to come sit on your heels. And then you're going to find a wall. So I have a bunch of wall space right behind me. So I'm just going to turn my mat around. If you need to move your computer or your phone or anything, feel free. But find some wall space where the shorter edge of the mat comes up against the wall. Cool. We're going to come into a headstand practice. So if you have one of those, get into it and live your dreams. If you don't, I'm just going to face this way. So I think it's easier for you to see how to get into it, but you should do it facing the wall so that your hands are facing the wall. Imagine there's a wall in front of me as we get into it. So we did a lot of shoulder stuff. We did a lot of things to make sure we're in line with the shoulders. So we're all set up for this. So you're going to come, wow, shocker, interlace your hands together. So you're going to interlace your hands together. You're going to place your elbows down, kind of like wherever they come down. And then just to double check, you're going to grab your opposite elbow. Cool. So that is your shoulder width distance, grabbing for opposite elbow, measuring out with your body space. Then you're going to come back to your interlace and have your interlace not be like what we just did in, or like when you come together, kind of like more like how it was behind the knees of your neck, because that's what's going to come there now. Woohoo. Okay. So what you're going to do is I'm kind of in like my same Virasana position and my hands are down on the ground. Great. You're going to place the crown of your head down onto the mat right in front of your hands so that your hands come back and are just hugging or pressing into the back of your head. From here, come into that dolphin pose that we did, but obviously your head is on the ground. If this feels like a lot, just stop here. You're getting the same sensation and work that will be done in this dolphin pose. If you were in your headstand, it doesn't really matter. Your head is pressing on something and that's all we're going for. If you feel like you can go further, you can try tucking one foot in, you can try tucking both foot in, or just try lifting up into an egg shape. Oops. Great, like this. And if you're like, I can do anything, you can lift your legs all the way up to the sky. Cool. And then you can hold your headstand for as long as you want. And also the reason we're next to a wall is if you try to do any of those things, your legs will fall into a wall instead of like onto something nearby or the ground. So just if you feel like you fall out of it, just come back into the dolphin pose, which is always a great place to be. And then you can hug your knees in towards your chest whenever you want. And just try to come up and down like a few times. And notice your feet touching the wall. It's there to support you. Take one more round of breath. And then when you're ready, you're gonna come back down the same way you came in. So come back into your egg shape. If you're already in your egg shape, amazing. Come back into the dolphin. Place your knees down on the ground and come back into a child's pose. Letting your arms come straight out. Forehead down on the ground. And if you were like, wow, that was hard and I never want to do that again, that's okay. But if it was one of your first times doing it, I hope you don't have that attitude, because the first time I ever tried doing a headstand, I think I just did a forward roll and then was too scared to do it for like months afterwards. So you can do it eventually. Time is the solution to everything. You're still in your child's pose. And then we're gonna come into what we call TV watching pose. This just, you're gonna place your hands underneath your chin and just kind of stare out in front of you as if you're smiling for like a third grade photo. And this neutralizes the neck and the spine. Notice how your body feels after going upside down. Literally a new perspective, a new vantage point. Blood rushing into the head. Always good to switch things up. And then if you're facing towards a wall or anywhere on your mat, just grab for your props one last time. So we're gonna come into like a restorative child's pose. So your blanket can stay like this, or you can roll it up like we did in the beginning, whatever you prefer. And you're gonna place that just on top of your heels. Knees, once again, can be as wide as the mat. And then with your blocks, you're gonna place one on the medium height straight out, like right in front of where like it would hit the middle of my chest. And then the other one also on the medium height, kind of in like a T shape. And once you lie down, you can just move the blocks around in whatever way, but keeping your hips on your heels as much as you can. Just let your body walk out into this child's pose. And I'm moving the blocks back closer towards me because I didn't gauge it that well, and that's totally fine. And just let your body calm down into the blocks, feeling the connection between your butt, the blanket, and your heels. Your chest on one block like thing. This could even be like a foam roller or anything like that. And your forehead also on a block like thing. Your hands can just come out straight from the shoulders. If you want to rest your elbows on the mat just to relax your arms, feel free to do that. And take a gentle rock of side to side with your forehead. Deep inhales and exhales through the belly, through the chest, through the lungs. And let it go out the mouth into the space between the blocks. Imagining that same motion of the breath as you breathe in and out. And noticing whatever happened in your headstand, whatever variation that you took, our head was on the ground in all of them. And we always want the crown of the head on the ground to give us a different sensation. So it doesn't matter if your legs came up into headstand or if you stayed in the dolphin pose, because the whole point of headstand is to have your head on the ground. And we all did that. Take a few more cycles of breath here, letting gravity help you melt into the props beneath you. Letting any energy or thoughts come back to the breath. Deep inhales and exhales in this forward fold. Take one more inhale. And as you exhale, walk your hands back up to come sit on your heels. And we'll take one last restorative light position. So you won't need your blocks for this unless you want to do something fun with them. And it's always possible to do some things with blocks. But you're going to keep your blanket the way it is and just press it up next to the wall. We're going to come into legs up the wall. So the way I like to get into this, and I don't think there's really like a graceful way to get into this, so sorry in advance, but you're going to sit with your butt like facing the side, like you're in timeout in a corner, and then you're going to roll onto your side. You can be on the left side or right side of the mat, and then just roll up. And then your lower back or your sacrum will be on the blanket. Your heels can touch the wall. You can also move the blanket back a little bit so it's more on the sacrum, and your butt can kind of melt into that crevice between the blanket and the wall. And you can bring your arms on your belly out to the right and left into holding opposite elbows up overhead. And I'll let you know when we're halfway through and you can switch. Or you can do anything. Letting your toes, feet, and ankles relax. Letting your knees relax. Bringing your eyes to a close. This is another good way to change your perspective, to flip over, kind of an inversion type thing. Your legs are higher than your heart, which to me is a definition of an inversion. Because if you were standing upright, your heart would be above your legs and blood would be flowing one way. This allows the blood to drain from the legs, especially if you've been standing or you've been sitting a lot all day. It's nice to just let the blood drain. If you have an opposite elbow, flip it so you have the other elbow on top. And then if you want to take a different variation with the legs, feel free. You can bring your feet together and just let yourself come into this like inverted Supta Baddha Konasana shape, or like butterfly shape when you were in preschool. You can let one leg come out to one side. You can let both legs come out to either side and get that sort of stretch. I'm going to keep my feet together. You can also keep your feet straight up the wall. Noticing the speed of your breath. Is it fast? Is it slow? Focusing on the breath allows us to stay in the moment and not really let our thoughts wander. Even though it's so nice sometimes to just lie down and just see where the mind goes. There's a power to being focused on the here and now, and focusing on the breath helps us do that. Take one more deep inhale and exhale. And then wherever your feet are, place your feet planted onto the wall. Bring your right arm up by your ear and roll onto your right side, coming into a fetal position on the right. With your left hand, come back to the way we started, seated in your asana. Bring your eyes to a close if they reopened. Hands can come face up or face down on your thighs. Once again, noticing how you're sitting on the block. Is there more weight to one side than the other? Are your shoulders down and not up by your ears? Is the crown of the head shooting up towards the sky? Heels pressing into the block, knees pressing towards each other. Finding your best version of your seat. Relax your tongue, relax your eyes, relax your nose. Let yourself stack one bone on top of the other to just sit here and be here. Thankful that we could be here all together and have our bodies move in different ways and being able to try new things. Take one more deep inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth. Bring your palms to press at the center of your chest. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Namaste. Yay!
Yay! Thank you, Dana.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dana. Bye.
Thanks, Nadia. Bye. See you guys soon, hopefully on the internet, because probably not in person.
Totally.
Oh, let me stop recording. Yay, yes. Thanks for